Hi, this is Family Wellness Coach Angelle Batten over at angellebatten.com. And in this webinar, I am going to talk to you about my One Easy System, Part 1 specifically, Planning Made Simple. So I know from working with thousands of busy moms and just being a busy mom myself that weekly menu planning can be so daunting. You know, it is the One Easy System is a three-step process: plan, shop, and prep. And it sounds simple when you think about 3 steps, and it is simple. The hardest part, however, is consistently carving out time each week to do it, especially that planning piece. But once you experience how much easier it is to feed your family real food every day, you'll be motivated to do the 3 simple steps each week. Now, just remember, we spend time on what we value. So just keep in mind why you're doing this. You want to feed your family healthier. You want to have more home-cooked meals. You want to crowd out that processed food and fast food. And it's because you value your family's health and well-being and your own. So it's going to take some time, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. And I will show you how to make it as easy as possible. So first of all, you want to choose a form or an app that works for you when it comes to planning. No one form or app works for everyone. Find the easiest one for you and just use that. But it might take you a couple tries. Whatever form or app you use, you just follow this system though of planning, shopping, and prepping. And after a few times, you can just adapt it to make it your own. I generally use my form that I share for free on my website, and it's just simple paper and pencil, and it works really, really well. So that's what I suggest starting with. Keep your planning materials together. You know, if you have a notebook, clipboard, file box, computer file, something, but you want to keep your, some blank planning sheets. Keep your previous plans because you can either just reuse those in upcoming weeks, or you can pull recipes from them, but keep those previous plans. Keep your tried and true recipes nice and handy in one place. Keep your weekly calendar handy because you want to see what events, what extracurriculars are going on so that when you're doing your planning, you can plan for those. But try to make it simple. Too often we make our lives harder than they need to be. And by just being a little more organized, this whole process is a little easier. Schedule planning time. So if it's not scheduled, planning time too easily gets crowded out by anything and everything, like maybe Pinterest or your favorite TV show. I know because this happens to me. If you don't schedule a regular time on your calendar to plan your weekly menu, there's a good chance that you are not going to actually do the planning. And that's not to beat yourself up or for me to beat you up. It's just, it's just the truth for so many of us. So honor that time like you would any other appointment. Remember, we all spend time on what we value. Involve your family a little bit. Don't overly involve your family. But you know what? Ask each family member to suggest 1 or 2 favorite meals. Don't promise you're going to make them next week, but let them know you're open for suggestions and that you'll do your best. It's just nice to have that ongoing conversation and that your family, especially if you have particular eaters who are resistant, you want to have them have some input and try to make 1 or 2 of the favorite meals that they suggest. But again, don't get overly caught up in exactly what everybody wants because you'll make yourself crazy. All right, when you sit down to do your planning at your scheduled time, plug in those extracurricular activities. This helps you think through which meals will work best on which days. So a lot of days you might need a slow cooker meal, something that you start early in the day and let it go so that when you're running in the door after soccer practice or religious ed classes or whatever it is, that you have something ready, and then there's no temptation or need to stop and get something through a drive-through or order out. You might want to consider daily themes when you're planning. Some people really like to do this, and it makes it easier just mentally to do the planning. So you could have a theme for each day of the week, like Super or Slow Cooker Sunday, Meatball Monday, where you experiment with different types of meatballs and meatloaf recipes that can be prepped ahead. Taco Tuesday. Try a different type of taco each week and, try different powerful proteins. So you might have your standard beef tacos. You might have some fish tacos. You might try some kind of a turkey taco. You might do soft tacos. You could do taco lettuce wraps. So lots of different things you can do that could take you through months of Tuesdays. Wacky Wednesday. So breakfast for dinner, unusual combinations of favorite foods, just anything that's a little bit wacky and fun. Wrap it up Wednesday. Whatever it is, serve it in a lettuce, grain-free, or a whole grain wrap. How about around the world and back Thursdays? So you might do Italian food or Spanish food or Irish food, Mexican food. Just do something that has a little bit of a different cultural flair to it. Free for all Friday. Clear the fridge of leftovers and put out a sampling of favorite condiments and let people go at it. People will come up with the funniest combinations, and you might have some really happy kiddos that just get to put together whatever they like that's left over in the fridge. Salad bar Saturday. The possibilities are endless with that. I mean, you can have so many different types of proteins and different types of vegetables and raw and steamed and just all kinds of things. So lots of endless possibilities. And again, that kind of a salad bar or a taco bar or those free-for-all days give people choice too. So you're putting out a lot of different things, and then the people in your family can have some choice, and generally that helps if there's any resistance. So when you're planning, I want you to start planning what's easiest for you. So get on a roll with your planning by starting with whatever meal is easiest for you to plan. Maybe it's breakfasts, maybe it's dinners, but just get in the habit of, if you're not planning out the whole week, just plan out what's easiest for you. Begin with meals you know your family likes. Fill those in first. So you're going to just make a list each week or plug in meals that you know your family already likes. Then you just look at each one and see if you need to bump up the quality of any of the ingredients, or see how you need to balance it out. Maybe you need to add some colorful carbs. Maybe you need a lot more friendly fat. But you can do that. So if your family, say if they like to have noodles, you can bump up the quality by doing a gluten-free noodle, or you can do a zoodle, the zucchini noodles, or you can bump up the quality of the meat that you use. So balance it out with a meat sauce and bump up the quality of the meat that you use. Balance out with more colorful carbs by adding a side of green beans or adding some shredded spinach into the meat sauce. So you're just going to bump and balance the meals that your family already likes. And then you'll add in 1 to 2 new recipes each week. More than that is just likely to overwhelm you and your family. But with just 1 to 2 new meals each week, then you're going to gradually change over your family's diet and add more variety without as much resistance, because people are still getting their favorites most weeks, and then you're adding in some new things to the rotation, and before you know it, you have a lot more variety, you have a lot more recipes under your belt. So go slow to go fast. All right, you want to make sure on your planning sheet, or if you're doing it in an app or somewhere, that you write down the source of the new recipe, jot down the name, page, website, etc. right on your menu plan so you can find it easily. Talked about this already, but you want to make sure that you check each recipe for balance. Include powerful protein, friendly fat, and colorful carbs at each meal. And plan to use leftovers to your advantage. Create seconds, please, for a meal the next day. This is how I make my life so much easier. And if you're not in love with having leftovers, you want to get used to the idea. You want to warm up to it, and you want your family to warm up to it. If you have whatever you have for dinner, you want to think about having it for breakfast or for lunch the next day. You might switch it up a little bit. It might be a salad one day, it might be in a wrap the next day. But the main part is already prepared for you. And you just want to expect everyone to be okay with leftovers. It's just going to make life much, much easier. Eat seasonally. So when you're planning, think about that. You don't have to do it perfectly. I know I don't, but do your best to eat in season, because that supports your health and it can help with the food budget some. You want to make sure that once your plan is done, that you take a picture of your plan and of your shopping list so that you have it when you go shopping, or in case you lose your written out copy, which I have been known to do. So have a picture of it. That will save you a little bit of headache potentially. Plan to be strategic about asking for feedback on your menu plan. Let your family know it is not okay, it's not acceptable to complain about food you have prepared for them. Invite them to give you feedback if you want to, but in a limited way. Like you can do a quick and quiet thumbs up, thumbs down, or neutral after a meal. You can post your menu on the fridge and leave a spot for your kids, your spouse to vote. They can do a smiley face, a sad face, whatever works. Wrap around at the end of a meal with a star and a wish about the meal. Something that they liked, something that they wish maybe were different. Ask what they can do to make it work for them, because this is the only meal being served. So a lot of times I'll say, okay, I understand it's not your favorite. Everything can't be your favorite. What can you do to make it work for you? If they want to put ketchup on it and you have ketchup in the fridge, then I say it's fair game. But just make it, put it back on them to problem solve and to think about what they could do to make it work for them. And that cuts down on some of the complaining, especially if you make sure to tell them that you're not okay with complaining. You worked hard on the meal, and that's that. Adjust weekly and go easy on yourself. You know, there's no perfect. Do follow the process for planning. And in another video, I'm going to talk to you about the shopping and the prepping pieces, but follow the process for planning. Adjust it as needed each week and make it work for you and your family. You know, it's just making manageable changes. Before you know it, if you do this, you are going to have the planning piece down. It's going to be easy for you. You're going to be able to pull your recipes quickly and get your plan all written or typed out. So stick with it and make sure you do schedule in the time, because that's really probably the most important thing to keep you from, to keep you doing the planning piece and to keep you from getting too overwhelmed.